Hey guys, so this is the first day of really working with Blue. I'm doing place as the first command because I think it's the most important command inside of the house, specifically to get the dog to relax and calm down. Now obviously with a dog like Blue, he doesn't have a lot of other distractions other than humans and an older dog. So I've been working him the last day around Kuma and Nike, which have been kind of a big distraction for him, but it's also gotten him more comfortable and relaxed quicker, getting him to do things like this. Now, I have not taught him down, which is obviously he's doing at this moment, but he kind of starts to fuss, and we work a lot with getting him to be able to relax, because ultimately my end goal is this. I know this is going to sound kind of, I guess in a sense, lazy, but if he does nothing else with regard to going home and listening to commands, at the very least, I want him to be able to find his place inside of your house, and I want him to feel safe and relaxed and comfortable. So this way, when he feels insecure or anxious, he knows that this is what we want him to do on his own, where you do not have to guide him to it, or you do not have to reinforce commands for the rest of his life, because ultimately, if your dog knows exactly what your boundaries are inside of the house and what the rules are that you've set, and you make it very clear what he is and isn't allowed to do, then he'll start to follow those rules in a sense where he'd rather get praise than discipline. And once his little brain starts to relax longer and longer extended periods of time throughout the day, he'll do this on his own, okay? So with place, this is a medium-sized place board. And I have it where I have it up against a wall because my preference is that there's only 3 open sides with regard to the place as a boundary to help kind of keep him there, kind of reinforces the idea of he needs to stay there. You also want to make sure that the place board is in a communal living area. Now obviously my house is not very big and I have no idea what yours is like, so what you want to make sure that you do is get him used to the idea of where it is inside of any specific room you have it in. So you can have it in 5 different rooms if you really wanted to, but he's not going to generalize where it is in any context until you kind of go through the repetition of teaching him, in this context, this is where your spot is. And you keep guiding him there, using the leash to make sure that he understands that this is where it is and it's going to stay there. Now it can obviously change, but don't change it all the time. Make sure that it stays very clear that this, in this context, this is where it is, and it doesn't change too often. So he has not gotten to the point where he goes to it by himself by any stretch of the imagination. It's been 24 hours since he's come here. So what I want to show you is how I kind of get the dog to respond to the command using a leash and rewards. Plus, I want you to also be aware of how and when I say things, so this way when he goes home, you know exactly what to do. So this way you can show him in your context where everything is. So, still have the leash on, still using it to reinforce the idea of him following and responding to me, so this way I don't have to go off and try to run after him and get him to stop doing something like that. And then what I do is I kind of start to guide him towards the item that I want him to go to, and I just hold slight pressure. Place! As soon as he puts one foot on there, I say the command to make sure that he understands. That sound is to associate with you putting your foot up there. Now we've also been practicing getting him to SIT on the place board, but I'm not going to do that in this video because I just want to be, no. So correction, and then reinforce the behavior. Place. Good boy. So this way he understands that it's not his choice for how long he's going to do something, when he's going to do something, where he's going to do something. It's dictated by the humans, whether it's one of your sons or you, doesn't matter. You want to make sure that he understands that he has no choice in the matter at this point. Now, when I decide to tell him he no longer has to do the command and he's completed it, it's beep, and then that gives him permission to get off. And then I give him a treat afterwards just because he really enjoys them, and it's a good way of building a relationship with him that I don't currently have. Blue. So again, place. Good boy. No. Correction. Reinforce. No. Place. Good. Now, with the no and reinforcing behaviors, you want to make sure that you stay kind of consistent with firm but fair. You don't want to get frustrated with him. He's going to make mistakes when he goes home. You just want to make sure that you correct them quickly and you reinforce the behavior and you move on. Because again, he's going to focus a lot on how you feel compared to how you're communicating with him. We want to make sure that you're communicating with him clear, concisely, but respectfully, so this way he's not feeding off of any sort of potential negative emotion you might be having with him. So if you notice while you're practicing with him that you're starting to get frustrated or he's having an off time, what I always recommend is that you do something very quickly. So I would have him go on to his PLACE and then I would release him right away, because in that context, that's going to be the last thing that he remembers from that training session. It's not going to be the first one or the fifth one where he was starting to get frustrated, and so were you. So you want to always make sure that you end on a good note, but you always want to be very aware, good boy, of how he's doing, what he's capable of doing at any given time, and how you're feeling as well. Never work with him if you're frustrated, stressed, anxious, all of that kind of stuff, because it's not going to benefit you at all. It's actually potentially just only going to hinder you, and it's not worth it. So I would say, unless you're content or happy, don't work with him. Now, I have not taught him DOWN as of yet, because it's only day one. But the idea is that he goes to this and he learns to hold the position for extended periods of time, and then his automatic response eventually becomes to go to his place and then eventually do DOWN. Now, right now, I don't care if he SITs or he stands. Doesn't matter to me. As long as he doesn't get off the barrier of the place board, he can do whatever he wants within the boundary of the place board. Now, what I've also been able to do, no, correction with the leash. Good boy. Correction with the leash right there. So this way he only put one foot down with the and then I put him right back on. Now, it was my mistake where I didn't reinforce the place, but that's okay, because you're going to make mistakes. Don't worry about it. But like being able to drop the leash and I can actually start walk away from him. Place. I'm reinforcing the command. Again, it doesn't matter that he was in DOWN and now he's standing up, as long as he stays on that place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm kind of reminding him that he needs to hold that position. Good boy. Because I don't want him to constantly be getting off. No. Blue. Place. Good. Because I want him to understand this is my choice as the human, not his as the dog. So having him practice listening to all the instructional commands is very, very important. I've not been able to get away too far, but ultimately he's actually done pretty well holding the position with me moving around a little bit. Now, what I also do is make sure that I move, no. Pull back and release the pressure. Place. Good. I don't move away too much at this point, but I'm also moving away where I'm walking away. So I'm never actually going to do any of this kind of stuff to hold him there. No. Place. So I use my body there instead of the leash, which is totally fine. Body pressure instead of leash pressure, which ultimately is a different way of communicating with him. And as you saw, he kind of worked into it. So I put my body towards him to get him to manipulate him backwards. As soon as he did, I backed off to let him know that that pressure was going to go away, because he did exactly what I needed him to do. Now again, I'm walking away. Again, I'm just leisurely walking away. I'm not actually, no. Permanently walking away. Place. No. Now, I want you to be able to see this. I know this is a long video, but I hope you can watch it through the course of the next several days. You see how he's starting to resist a little bit to wanting to do it? That tells me that he's, at this point in this context of this training session, he's getting to the end of his rope. So what I'm going to do is release him from the command that he was successful at and allow him to be able to just stop. I'm not going to have him do the command again. I'm not going to reinforce the idea that we're making mistake after mistake after mistake. So that was actually really good. We needed that for him. Now, If you have any questions for me, please obviously text or email me. My preference is long questions, email, short questions, you can text. But over the course of these 2 weeks, I'm going to be sending you quite a few videos, so make sure that you have the ability to review them throughout the next several weeks, and then obviously in the future as needed. But again, questions, let me know. Thanks.